Good morning. It's Monday, 9 a.m., first day of Oracle Open World. Okay, and I know some people need much coffee. Certainly I did. But welcome to this session. My name is Kash Iftikhar. I run global product and strategy for the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. We call it OCI. You're going to hear a lot about OCI during the next 4 days. You're going to see Larry speak about Generation 2 Cloud, as he probably calls it. All of the stuff that we've been doing for the last couple of years, building the product, taking it to market. This session is very close to my heart personally. We started this session last year. We had a really awesome panel. And primarily, the reason is because I'm an entrepreneur by heart as well. I've done 2 startups. Before Oracle, I've been here for like 2 years. We started a company in the software-defined networking space. We sold it to VMware and then joined Oracle. And literally, this has been a startup in a very large company. So I've really enjoyed that experience. But what we also wanted to do is make sure that we share the experience that we are having, a lot of fun building some really awesome product with some of the most innovative companies, primarily in the startup sphere, okay? So we have a distinguished panel here, which I will introduce shortly. Safe harbor, they told me to put this slide, not my choice. All right, so we have Simon from Shield.io, Stefan from Phoenix, Peter from iGeolyze, and Al Zloger from Widget. The way we're going to do this is they're going to come and talk a little bit about their company. I think it's really important for you to understand how they're disrupting the existing marketplace with their innovative ideas. We're going to talk a little bit about how Oracle is helping them with launching their products. And then more importantly, some things that they can share with you in terms of where they're trying to drive their future strategy and what they see evolving as they help their customers with their innovative products, okay? So first, I would like to introduce Simon. Simon is... he's got an awesome hat.
It's called Fred.
Good, Fred. And Simon, this company is in a very interesting space. In summary, he will go into more details. They're talking about, or what they're doing for their customers, solving the very complex problem of running analytics on encrypted data. So Simon, why don't you go ahead and let me know how I need to move the slide.
The slides, right.
Yep.
Hi. Yeah, what we do is we enable people to take that dark data, the data which normally they wouldn't be able to access because it's PII, PHI, just company-sensitive data, encrypt it, and allow it then to be searched while it remains encrypted. And we do that for a number of reasons, mainly because other people don't seem to be doing it. But 2, there's a massive, massive push at the moment. A few years ago, we had all this big data stuff at events like this. And big data is fantastic, and we've all got lots of it, but it's no good having it if you can't actually use it because the stuff you need to have analyzed isn't allowed to be used because of the sensitivity of it. So we bought a platform which runs on OCI, which enables people to completely encrypt all that PII data and still have it searchable, and more importantly, enable it to be used for analytics. It runs on a number of technologies, homomorphic encryption, AI engines, high-power computing. But the main thing of it is ease of use. Very, very simple. It's no good having security if it's hard, because people will always bypass it. So it's a matter of making sure it's simple, accessible, and works. And that's one of the reasons we use OCI, because a lot of our customers have on-premise data stores that they're utilizing. But they want to open up the analytics to the whole economy, the whole organization. So the only way to really do that is by using an intermediary cloud platform, which is why we use OCI. Okay, next. There is more slides.
There's one slide for you. So how did you start this company?
It's gone through a transformation My background is through big projects, big searching projects, big security projects. And we saw a massive need to enable people to search encrypted data. And we saw that people were saying it's impossible and it couldn't be done. And in essence, he doesn't like this one. Okay. In essence, people were finding it just too difficult to be able to open up the data. So we found a need, and so we started it that way.
That's fantastic. Thank you. We'll go through more questions. Next, Stefan, you're in the business of streaming high-end broadcast quality video to a broad number of subscribers at very low latencies. Tell us more about it.
Yes, my name is Stefan Beerer. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Phoenix. We provide real-time video solutions that allow you to broadcast to large audiences across the globe in broadcast quality while meeting less than a second end-to-end latency.
Okay. And I believe you have a video that goes through a little bit about what you guys do. I don't know.
As more consumers view live video on their personal devices, the slow video startup and delay of 30 to 90 seconds with conventional streaming leads to a frustrating experience. Phoenix's real-time solution delivers live video to mass audiences worldwide with less than 1/2 second latency today. Customer examples include a professional football league where viewers choose the next play in real time, the world's largest auto auction company with tens of thousands of cars purchased each day in real time, esports tournaments where live video games are viewed and commented on by large numbers of viewers in real time, live hosted quiz shows where more than 100,000 concurrent viewers compete for cash prizes in real time. At Phoenix, we're enabling millions of real-time viewing experiences every day. Phoenix, connecting the world without delay.
So you saw a little bit the use cases, and I want to dive into also kind of what the fundamental problem is that we're solving with real-time video. So there's technology that is used to do what you consider live streaming today. But what many people don't know, that's typically 30 seconds to 90 seconds behind the actual action in front of the camera. Technologies for that are HLS and Dash that are used in the industry. But on the other hand, there is efforts for real-time communication, as you have used online video conferencing tools. There is standards that are built into all the browsers that allow you to do real-time communication using WebRTC. Those real-time technologies don't inherently scale, right? So you still have to build a platform around it that allows you to reach hundreds of thousands of concurrent users versus the traditional live streaming. They solved obviously the scale at the cost of the higher latency and the cost of like limitations in the flash crowd use cases. And so we built a solution from the ground up that addresses those fundamental properties and brings them together. Now we can stream to large audiences, audiences that join in a very short period of time, audiences that require low latency delivery. And so that's where we work with Oracle as one of our providers for edge presence. Because of their global representation, we are able to get close to the end users and deliver with low latency.
Right. Well, thank you. Peter, I had the fortune of meeting your team in Bristol, and you're part of our Startup Accelerator program. And I think what was really interesting, I sat down and they showed me the demo around, hey, if you specify time and mode of transport, you can do search metrics around that. So talk to us a little bit about what you guys are doing.
I don't need to. I think you're our best advocate. It's great. We
try.
We do a very simple thing, but it's also a bit complex. We turn distance into time, which is a weird concept for a Monday morning. We make maps and data searchable by time rather than by distance. And the really easy way to think why that might be useful is, if you think of a big property website, in the UK it would be Rightmove and Zoopla, over here it would be Zillow, Trulia. And typically you'll go to that site and you'll put in the type of property you want, And then it will say within X miles, or for my European colleagues, kilometers. And it'll return results from within a circle, a radius. But when they link to our platform, their user can put in 45 minutes commute at 7:30 in the morning using public transport, and it produces a completely different set of results. Now, if you'd be kind enough just to go to the next slide.
I think there's a video that you
you run the video, and I'm going to talk through what's happening.
All right, perfect. So,
if I can.
Yep.
So we're a platform, but we built one app, which is this one. And we went to Moscone Center, and as I move it around, that's the area you can reach in 30 minutes using public transport. And we can then go and search a database of anything. We're using Foursquare's API for a demo. And we rank and sort all of the results instantly. There's no editing on this. This is just a straight screen capture. And then we can go and get the route, like everyone would be able to do, from A to B, from where you were. And we can do multiple different routes. And we have the full turn by turn. We can mix all of the modes, drive to the station if need be, get the train, walk. And catch up with the video. Then we can go and create, it's like a Venn diagram. So we can go and create multiple areas. And retailers use things like that for store catchment areas. And we can identify all of the locations that are within that shared area. And as the blue one moves, so the results changed. And then we can go and get the route for both people to get to the hotel or cafe or whatever it is that they're going to meet up at. And then we can do a third one. And if you used our API, you can do hundreds. We have people who have sales territories who do hundreds of them in the UK, and they match all of their inbound leads to the particular things. We're done on the video. If we go, thank you. So that's what we mean by making maps and data searchable by time. Yep. Thank you very much. And we do it because it's useful. It's just such an obvious thing, really. No one's really interested in distance. You care about when you've got to leave and when you're going to arrive and your mode of transport. It's profitable. There doesn't seem to be anyone else doing it in the same way. We know that from Google, 40% of all searches are for things that have locations. So every retailer's store locator page, dating websites, you meet online to meet offline, restaurants, jobs, properties. And an awful lot of business intelligence has locations. So we just make it searchable. Thanks, Kash.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So now over to Al Zloger from Widget. I think you are also solving some interesting problems for end consumers, B2B and B2C, areas where you are converting, I would say, text, videos into actual conversations with consumers. So I'm sure you can represent your company much better than what I just did, but please walk us through in terms of what your background a little bit and what you're doing at Widget.
This is my 8th startup, and I guess I should have learned on the first 7, but I'm compulsive. So Widget.co transforms any image, document, or video, in fact, we have one here, into something you can tap, text, or call. Doesn't require sign up, doesn't require an app. The user simply taps on that image anywhere it goes, web, email, blogs, social, and they're now communicating with whoever posted or published that. And they're communicating in real time, fully encrypted. And you're communicating by subject, because that's really how we communicate with businesses. It also works on video and PDFs. And the whole idea is to move it at the rate of texting. There are 3 billion plus images that are being uploaded. Predictions are that it's going to be closer to 4 or 5 billion by the end of 2019. We're already communicating by pictures. And ultimately, we don't have a means of making it contextual. That's what Widget does. The images can contain metadata, they can contain coupons, it can be online to offline, which we're doing with some retailers. In advertising and marketing, and anyone who's gone to a website has seen this, you click on an image and it takes you to a website that's entirely different from the image you're looking at. This makes it direct, granular, literal. It can be a stock number, it can be a real estate property, it can be an offer. It can be selling software. It can be literally matching up an Oracle sales team with a customer inquiry in nanoseconds. It's mobile and web in the same environment. And that's ultimately what Widget does. It makes images into communication channels.
And go into Q&A. One of the things that is very important, I think, for Oracle in particular, is to really change the way we're engaging with our customers, yeah? Especially startups. I'll be very honest, when I came here, like 2 years ago, I was quite connected with the startup community, and Oracle does not come to mind as being startup friendly. But as you can see with your experience, we're trying to change that significantly, and I want people to know more about that. So if you can walk us through how did we get engaged with you, and what has your experience been working with Oracle? Anyone can go first.
We started with an alpha that was quite extensive, and we were using AWS. Can I say that here?
Yeah,
sorry.
Of course. Actually, you get brownie points by saying that.
Oh, I did. I didn't want to bring it up in mixed company. Yeah. And you know, I think the first thing we noticed when we came to Oracle, and to your point, I did previous startups that used Oracle database. And the first thing we noticed when we moved into the cloud environment with Oracle were the people. You literally have folks that will talk to you about a problem. Your whole business is dependent on the cloud. If it goes down, if there's a problem, and there will be, you don't want to bet the farm on an email. And our experience was we had a team of people that knew our business, that knew the type of systems and software we were using. And ultimately, they knew as much about it as our team. And anytime we've had a problem, they were there. They brought us up so that we could do our beta. And ultimately, over cost and everything else, which, by the way, we saved money, but the speed and the response that we had from people, huge. Without people, you're left to an email and maybe a phone number.
All right, great. Anybody else?
Yeah, a couple of things.
Let's move the mic.
Yep.
I'm sorry about that. We just have to.
I think the obvious thing to say here, this isn't the Oracle we all know and love. This is a new breed of Oracle. There's some people laughing, so they know exactly what I'm talking about. This is an Oracle that does actually talk to you, an Oracle that wants to help you. Sorry. But
I'm the new breed,
yeah.
Oracle, so I don't mind.
And it's an open Oracle, one that really is going out to help their customers, whether they're big or small. So if you need something, as has been said, it's not just an email that gets back. You actually get a phone call. Someone wants to talk to you. And there's people on the other end of the phone who know what they're talking about, not just because they want to cut another invoice to you at the end of the month, but because they actually want to help you. And that's a massive difference between OCI and the old Oracle. One of the reasons we've moved across is cost, but also the speed of deployment. We also were using AWS and some others, and we found with the Oracle Cloud Platform, it's just a little bit more obvious on how to do things. It's much more, I hate to say this because people always jump down my throat, but it's actually much more secure in a more resilient manner than other platforms. And I say that because other platforms can be secured up really, really well. But you have to go and do all the hunting. You have to go and do all the looking. Whereas with OCI, it's almost there by default. You obviously have to go and check. You have to make sure things are all correct. But it's almost there by default. Whereas other platforms, they kind of assume that it's going to be there by default, and it's not. And the security aspect to us is very, very important. And the ease of use is very important. But most of all, it's the fact that we know that there are people there to talk to.
Peter, Stefan?
Yeah. So our experiences were certainly one of open ears and a personalized touch. I think the fundamental thing for us from a technology perspective is kind of understanding some of the limitations that are, I mean, there's always limitations, right? But we're doing a lot of bandwidth, a lot of CPUs. And for us to have confidence in a solution is understanding actually what is the underlying limitations. And these are typically crown jewels for any cloud providers. But Oracle, after obviously a couple personal conversations, was willing to share some of those details that you typically will never hear from other cloud providers. And I think that gives us a level of confidence that we have a partner that we can work together and solve the problems as we grow and be able to basically conquer the world with our technology.
We first came into contact with Oracle April last year, and we had a particular way of using our platform. It's a field force routing solution that uses public transport. Everyone uses road, including Oracle, but everyone uses road. We worked out how to do it by public transport. And so we went along to Oracle in Bristol, showed it, and the guys said, that's really interesting, and I'd love to help you, but I can help you an awful lot more if you can get into this accelerator, which was being set up in Bristol. So we applied. There were about 150 odd companies who applied. We got very lucky. They took 5. And Oracle did 3 things for us. The first is some accommodation, so sitting with a lot of other startups, because we had an ongoing business already. We were in 23 countries, processing about 2 billion locations every month. So it was an ongoing business. But we were able to sit with a lot of startups and people who knew how to mentor them. We got access to 3 elements of the Oracle stack that solved some scaling problems for us. Because we have to reprocess our maps in every country every week, because roads change, zebra crossings change, stuff changes. And it was taking us about a week to process one country. But we're now in 28 countries. It's like spinning plates on sticks, and you've got to run up and down and keep the damn thing spinning. So we got access to bare metal, and we can now do in about 8 hours what was taking us a week for one country. We do 28 countries in 8 hours. And we use it for 2 or 3 other things specific in our business that just makes things scale. So access to technology, and then access to people like you, because frankly, if we weren't working with Oracle, we wouldn't be here. They put us in front of a large number of customers that have been... I thought there might be a degree of bullshit when we first joined the program. The big corporate bullshit, tick the box, we're working with accelerators. It's not like that, actually. They genuinely seem to actually help us go and talk to people. Clients, product development teams, been awesome.
Well, that's fantastic. For folks, I know this is getting recorded as well, who don't know, we have a startup accelerator program where you as a startup can apply, and we provide a lot of, in some cases, we provide you funding, which is in some cases possible. But in other cases, what we're doing is we're really helping you set up your business, providing you access to our infrastructure, and in your case, facilities where you can come in and set up your environment. So we're really reaching out. I think we started it in a couple of areas or regions, and now we're expanding it worldwide. So if anybody is interested, you can contact me later, and I can put you in touch with the right people. Going into a little bit detail, maybe Stefan, starting with you. That is your business. You are pushing a lot of bandwidth, and you have to do at pretty low latency, yeah? So tell us a little bit about how your application actually works, and what does it need from the infrastructure, and then we'll go into, the OCI specific things.
Yeah. So for us, one of the use cases you heard before is the trivia type of application, where a lot of users will tune in, for let's say 15 to 20 minutes to watch a stream. They will come in quickly, and then basically goes from 0 to 100 in a few minutes, and it will sustain for 15 minutes, and then slowing down from the number of users. And there is 2 fundamental things that we need in order to fulfill that delivery. That is bandwidth to the users, bandwidth that's in essence close to the users. So if you had a data center in Europe, that's close to European users, that will be within 20 milliseconds latency underlying internet infrastructure. Obviously, the last mile is always where most of the latency will come from in this situation. If you had a user in the US, you need a location in the US, right? Because it's going to add 100 milliseconds round trip time just to go over the ocean, and that will impair the user experience. So we need a lot of bandwidth, need it close to the end users. And on top of that, we need CPUs that goes along with the bandwidth, so that we can encrypt. Also, all these video streams are encrypted, so they need to be encrypted on the edge before they are basically delivered to the end users.
So let's say if this application were going to go 10 times where you're at, hopefully that's what every startup expects. What is the scale that you're looking at in just compute or resources you want to use? Any ideas?
Yeah, so obviously continuous mode of optimization is our CPU usage, but we use several 10,000s of cores at the peak. Right now, in the magnitude of hundreds of gigabits of throughput. So at 10x will probably be over a terabit of sustained throughput at the peak. So these are kind of the scales that you need to deliver a service like this on a global scale.
Cool. And Simon, for yourself as well, when we were initially having a chat, we're very interested, right? This problem of, running analytics or searching on encrypted data. What kind of problems is it solving for customers, and which sort of communities or verticals is your solution sort of geared towards?
The problems are multiple. Just about every organization has data that they want to open up to enable analytics or just searching to be taken place on. But we're finding a lot within the health and the banking industries is where we're mainly hitting our major target. And these people have a lot of data. We're working with one organization that has over 20 billion rows of data on one database. And to process that, to encrypt it, and then to search that in an encrypted state takes a lot of power. And so the problem we're finding with people is that there are solutions out there which encrypt the data. There are solutions out there which enable them to do analytics on data, but not joined together because of the processing power, because of the speed that's necessary. So that's where we're hitting. Those people with, generally speaking, billions of rows of data, but those that need to be able to have it accessible for business reasons, whether it be a bank needing to find out about your overdraft, but not wanting to open up all the details about you. But they still need to do analytics to get the right information. It could be a hospital needing to do some analytics on a cataract operation. It's very important that they get all of the details about what cataracts, where, and how, without opening up any PHI data. This data needs to be encrypted, but it also needs to be accessible and searchable without opening anything up. And for that, you need an awful lot of processing power, which is why we use OCI.
That's great. And Al, maybe you can expand. You mentioned a little bit around the advantages, and you were able to, sort of articulate it in terms of cost savings, right? Or it could be price performance. Walk us a little bit through, how do you get to those numbers? Eventually, it has to solve a problem for you, and then you have to offer that service to your customer. So how does it all come together for you with OCI?
Two areas. One, we did save in moving over to Oracle. We saved about 60% over what we were paying. Probably more important, in our alpha, we were not encrypted. And we added encryption. And I wish you could see the video, but if any of you want to just message me on the Lamborghini that's on widget.co, fully encrypted decrypting of messages through images in nanoseconds. It goes so fast, I can't keep up with it. So even in a dollar for dollar equivalent, and to put this in context, we're dealing with customers now, 4 agencies and a marketing firm. They're each encrypting and putting up with Widget 1 million images a week. That's 4 to 6 terabytes. And it handles it seamlessly. So that was not something we had the option of doing before. Now, when you add calling through an image, it gets even more complex. And it still cuts off about 5 seconds of latency that's already built into a typical cell call. So those were massive differences we didn't expect. We moved over for cost, certainly, but also we needed people to talk to. We didn't want to keep adding people onto our team where a provider may have them already. And that was the motive. And we ended up saving money, going faster, and doing stuff we couldn't have done before.
It's great. Peter, maybe take a stab at this in terms of how we are able to, you spent a little bit of time talking about that, but maybe a little bit detail around the infrastructure and what it gives you that you need to run your application a little bit faster.
If there's a common theme here, it's speed.
Yeah.
One of the biggest websites in the UK, just property website, said that for every 1/10 of a second over 1 second, they lose 10% of their audience. So we have to generate a travel time area, go and interrogate their database of properties, find the relevant ones, rank and sort them all by time, calculate the route to each one, and return the results in 0.3 of a second. Because if we're not doing it in 0.3, by the time they get it up on the screen to the consumer, they're starting to lose their audience. And it's actually the most fundamental thing. We wouldn't have a product if we couldn't do it really quickly. We'd have a product that could be used for analysis, but not live on a consumer-facing website. And there are really 3 ways at the moment. When we joined the accelerator, we didn't use Oracle at all. Forgive me, I know, but we didn't.
So everybody makes mistakes.
We've learned. We use Oracle in 3 ways now. We have a worldwide geocoder, and for that we use VM because it's just laterally scalable, generates results really quickly. We use Kubernetes.
Yep.
And we use that for passing all of the maps, the plates that I was talking about, that we just, if we can't generate new maps quickly, then all of the APIs, the public transport APIs that we bring in, if there's a mistake in them, and somewhere a human has put a timetable in, so there'll be mistakes, we couldn't pick them up because it was taking so long to process that we were doing the next one before we even had a chance to look at the old one. So the speed with which we can process vast volumes of data. The third one is bare metal, where when you do a traveling salesman solution, one person has to go to multiple different locations and you have to put them in the right order. The number of permutations goes up exponentially. By the time you've got about 13 calls to make, you've got about 1.3 trillion possible routes. And we needed sheer grunt to do that, which is bare metal. We wouldn't be able to do that without bare metal, because we tried. And we now have lots of customers who are using that, which is great in cities. It means no pollution, congestion. It's great.
Can I just pick up on the bare metal part?
Sure.
I think the bare metals, for those who don't know, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure has both VMs and bare metal. So you can put a whole machine up as opposed to sharing it with someone. And that's fundamental for us. And I think probably from what I can hear, other people on here, if you're able to do the original grunt work using a dedicated machine and then put down the afterwork in a VM seamlessly, it enables expansion and decrease of the platform as you use it. So you're not continuously using a bare metal machine when actually all you're getting is a few searches coming through. An example of that is we were out last week in Chattanooga. If anyone here knows where Chattanooga is. We were talking to a customer there, and they'd spend 13.8 hours processing their original data set. Took us under 2 hours using a bare metal machine. Now, we wouldn't want to carry on using that bare metal machine for their day-to-day use. We just want to use it for the original processing and post-processing. So at that point, we can move across to a non-bare metal, a standard VM machine seamlessly without worrying about downtimes and anything else that comes across with that. And that means that using OCI, we're able to actually expand and decrease our capabilities for our customers seamlessly. And I think that's important.
That's great. So we heard a lot about bare metal. We have different shapes. We have Kubernetes service. We are going to launch functions as a service. We have the fastest storage that we think, both block, object, file, archive at the lowest price point, fast network. If you were to sort of identify the areas other than bare metal that have been critical for you? Bare metal comes loud and clear. What would you sort of, put your finger on in terms of Oracle, good job, keep continuing, this is differentiated?
Fast network.
Fast network?
Fast network.
What else?
I mean, there's, I think, two things that stick out for me is the willingness to, like, the personalized approach that Oracle puts to the table. I think that makes a huge difference. And then I think in terms of bandwidth pricing, it's also very kind of very direct, very competitive pricing, which is kind of a fresh approach because in the industry, I think bandwidth is kind of this big thing. We know we can get it cheap. It typically is going through like 10 different curtains, but in Oracle, it's on the homepage, right? So there is no like big smoke and mirrors process to go to kind of understand what should you really pay for bandwidth at scale, especially. So it's and in Oracle's case, even the case that it's actually starts with very low usage already. So there's no like trying to take advantage of people like charging away a big margin on bandwidth, which is a huge thing for us. And I think for startups, because when I was in a startup, cost was very, very important for all of us. Do you think from a cost perspective, as you look at different services, is it something that from a commercial model perspective or the offerings, it's meeting your requirements or there's always room for improvement there? Well, I mean, there's always room for improvement for everything, right? But I think it's certainly in the ballpark of what's required. And I think that's certainly like a key differentiator that, any startup looking at pricing will see from an Oracle pricing sheet. I mean, there's, I think, improvement to make it a little bit clear because even it took me a month to figure out what it actually meant. There was kind of, it's different types of bandwidths, but ultimately what you really care for is actually very priced very competitively, and I think that makes a difference, right? I mean, I would say it's 10 times cheaper than the rate that any other cloud provider posts for bandwidth for like the starting tiers. And so I think that makes a huge difference.
Great. Anybody else wants to expand on that?
I do. I think in a startup, one of the other things you have is the talent pool that you can hire, especially here in the Bay Area. So in Oracle, you have a talent pool that we can access that is top level. I mean, we literally could not hire that type of talent on the budget we have unless we were much further along. And that's a huge savings. It's a savings that maybe is not realized just in what you pay brand X over brand Y. The talent pool that can solve a problem and solve it quickly and work with your engineering staff, that's priceless. I mean, sorry to coin that, but or borrow something that's been coined by a credit card company, but it's true. It really is. I mean, that's a real cost. I don't know if that's been true of your experience, but that's a big issue.
Actually having someone there at the end of the phone who knows what they're talking about. And as I said, that is priceless. So many times organizations put a price list up in front of you, and that's kind of all you get, and you want to try and contact them, you can't. Oracle do have a price list. It actually ends up being a lot less, as has been said, but they also have a phone line which people do want to respond to, and proactively will ring you to check everything's okay on the technical side, which is kind of unusual. So yeah, it works out as cost-effective, much, much better.
Great. So maybe some closing thoughts. There are a lot of people who will listen to this video. We will push it through different channels in a lot of startup communities. Maybe something, your closing thoughts could be about your company, your experience, anything that you want to close up on.
Yeah, I think very briefly, if you're out there at this moment in time looking for a platform, obviously take a look around. We do use them all. We've looked at many, plus lots of others. For what we do, for the bandwidth we require, for the compute power that we require, and it's for us, a lot of it is about the compute power. In reality, Oracle for us is the easiest and the best one to implement. We need a lot of crunch. Searching encrypted data with the amounts that we're talking about isn't easy on the processor or on the memory. And so by using a partner such as OCI, it gives us the ability to know that we can expand as necessary. So take a look around, but don't be scared of diving into that control panel. It's actually very easy to use.
Cool. Thank you.
I think I want to add, that it's like OCI is kind of newer to the party, right? I think fundamentally, having the interaction now with the team and Kash and our project managers and so on, I think I can attest that the arrows are pointing up very strongly. I think this is just the beginning. Oracle is kind of in some very strong direction on the right path. And, I think seeing what I'm seeing, I think it will be kind of the go-to place for emerging companies to start and grow because of the personalized approach as well as, the transparent cost structure that they put forward that makes it easier to launch enterprise and actually understand what you can do, right? Because if you have a product that's 10x the price, you may not have a business. But if you can plan that ahead of time, then you have a much more ability to push for certain development efforts.
Thank you.
Okay. My perspective comes from someone who's been through the accelerator program. And I've done 5 businesses. And the other 4, I had to go and find accommodation, had to find a team, find the infrastructure, make sure there was someone in to clean the office, make the coffee, all of that. During this accelerator program, and accommodation, if you need it's there, expertise to access to technical expertise is on tap and willing, as the guys have said. Access to clients is not just available, it's actually pushed at you all the time. And I'd almost think, why on earth would anyone who had the option not set up a new business or an accelerating business inside an accelerator like this? It would just seem bizarre not to. Certainly if I ever got to do it again, I'm almost far too old now, just do it straight inside an accelerator. It'd be bizarre not to. And this is the best one I've come across.
Thank you.
I'll add to that. Oracle is bringing us customers on a weekly basis and customers that we would not have access to. So it's not just selling you a product and servicing a product. It's actually ensuring that you have success in front of the right people. And they bring us in at a level that we probably wouldn't get in on our own. It's one thing to be banging on the door and maybe somebody just happens to come out and you catch them. They take us in at a high level. So. And we're not in the accelerator program. So that speaks volumes about what Oracle does.
Our experience.
Well, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. You've been very generous. I know you traveled from all over the place. And for the folks who are attending, one thing that I would close on in my 2 years experience here, building this business along with a bunch of fantastic, one of the best engineering team I've ever worked with. Now we're in thousands, so it's a big team. But the culture transformation is going at an unbelievable pace, which means, which is reflected. I think the task or challenge for people like me and our organization is how do we scale that personalized touch that you're talking about? I think that's the hard one to do, but I think we have a good idea of how to get there. The other one is that I think people sometimes get confused in translating the business advantages of what the platform is providing you. So I think people just look at cost and then sometimes look at performance. And then when you try to do an evaluation of a platform, you look at cost without the context of performance and sometimes performance with its impact on cost. But when you combine this together, and I think that's probably what you got out of this session, is a combined effort of both, is reducing your cost and really taking advantage at the same time of the speed and return to your business and your applications. I think that's the key. You'll see a continued focus from Oracle on startups. I think we'll have more and more startups on stage and building the community, but I really appreciate your time and thank you everyone in the audience. Hope you enjoyed this.